And he joins us on the River Islands guest line. Brian Baldinger is presented by our proud partner, Golden State Lumber and Showroom, serving the Bay Area for 3 generations. Building better starts with Golden State. When you succeed, we succeed. Visit goldenstatelumber.com. Baldy, good morning. Joe Spadoni, Joe Shasky here with you. And, we'll just bring you right into the conversation we were just having. Obviously, a huge win for the Niners, and Brock Purdy looking great against a bad Tennessee Titans team, but they got the win. 3 games to go here, a massive stretch, and they could still potentially be the number 1 overall seed in the conference. Just get a win, though, and you're in the playoff picture. But over the weekend, something happened with Brandon Aiyuk and the 49ers. Stop me if you've heard that before. They placed him on the reserve/left the team list. I didn't even know that was a thing, Baldy. Like, I think a lot of fans didn't even know that was a thing. Left the team list. Like, what? Shanahan was asked about it after the game and basically said, yeah, he hasn't been at the facility. We haven't seen him in a month. I was like, wow, just a month. I was still under the impression he was working out, doing something. Just a month, out of sight, out of mind. You can just give us our thoughts, because this is obviously the end of his tenure in San Francisco. Just an unfortunate situation that ended here. And Shasky's bringing it up. Man, you had Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk just last year, and now both of them going to be gone. Pretty crazy.
And Deebo leads, the Washington Commanders in receiving, and Aiyuk, after maybe a little rocky start with Kyle in the offense, really settled in and became, a go-to guy in the offense. I don't know what that list means, honestly. Like, I know they have lists for everything. 21-day, 21-day list. You got injury reserve list. I mean, I don't really know all the details of those kind of things. That's front office material. But it's a shame. Like, he fit in great with this offense. There was a real role for Brandon Aiyuk, and he was a really tough player. He was a good blocker. He was good without the ball. Like, he was a big component to this thing. But you can't like just make these exceptions for players, regardless. I mean, you got to like coach your team. And right now, the 49ers are maybe the healthiest offense in all of football, and they look like it. And the good thing is they look like they're having fun. Brock Purdy's got a smile on his face. He had a great game. The guys look like, Kittle is making snow angels in the middle of the field when he trips and falls. Like, guys are having a good time right now. And so I don't know what Ayuk's future situation is, but the guys that they're coaching are being coached hard, and they look good. They're going to be a good offense in the postseason.
I loved Brock Purdy's game over the weekend. The running, the throwing, the decisiveness, the charisma that you referenced. Was that as good of a performance as you've seen from Brock in a couple of years? Because, I mean, it was almost perfect.
It was pretty near perfect. 23 of 30, 300, 3 touchdowns, all different, different types of throws. Probably would have gotten one to Pearsall if it wasn't a pass interference penalty in the end zone. But regardless, you saw every kind of throw. You saw the scrambles. You saw the runs. He's got Mahomes' ability to extend plays, run, scramble. Like, he's very good at it. And but then the stick throws, the chunk throws down the field. The deep in cut to Pearsall, like on the run at the stop of the third quarter. Like, those are big time throws that every offense needs, because they end up scoring a touchdown on that drive. But you get chunk plays like that, you're going to score points in this league. You're starting at the 35-yard line in this league right now. So for the most part, you're going to score when you get chunk plays, and he got a bunch of them.
It looks like he's put the toe injury behind him. Have you? Do you agree with me, Baldy?
Yeah, I do, Joe. And I was looking for that. I was looking at some of those scrambles. He had a 126-yard scramble, and he at the end of it, when he went out of bounds, I don't know if you noticed this, he kind of like did like a little back pedal with it. Like, you're not doing that if your toe is bothering you. You're just not. But like, you can see, like, there's the touchdown throw over the middle to Kittle. Like, he elevated to make that throw. He literally jumped to get that ball over Jeffrey Simmons' head. And he went off his left foot in order to elevate maybe 12, 18 inches to make the throw. Like, you're just seeing the little things where it doesn't look like I don't know if he's got a steel plate in there or what, if he's still rehabbing, but it doesn't look like it's a lingering issue.
Talking to Brian Baldinger here on the Morning Roast, Odyssey NFL Insider, Best Football Show podcast, and he joins us each and every Tuesday at this time. And Baldy, we were going through it right now. Obviously, there's a path to be the 1 seed still. You need some help. Mm-hmm. Seattle would have to take care of business this Thursday, and you'd have to win out. It's reasonable enough, but I think most Niner fans are like, can we just win a damn game, get into the playoffs, and we'll take it from there. That being said, like the confidence Niner fans have to have now with a healthy, seemingly healthy Brock Purdy, coupled with a healthy Juwan Jennings, Kittle looking like a beast, Trent Williams out here pancaking people, CMC been doing what he's been doing all season long. Like, is this the best version of the Niners offense we've seen all year?
Yes, it is. Not even close. And now to see Pearsall do what he did, and to know that you can count on him. I mean, he's a good route runner. Fundamentally, he's very, very sound. Just the way that they blocked, even on the perimeter. Like, Kyle coaches hard all week long. Like, he doesn't let up on these guys. Like, they're responding, though. This is a good offense. It's a good offense. They scored on 7 of their 8 drives. Do you want to finish the drives with touchdowns rather than field goals? Of course. But still, Jeffrey Simmons is a beast. He had some good players on that side of the ball. Like, that's what you should do to Tennessee. You should sharpen every single thing you have. Let Kyle call his plays, execute the plays, and get ready for a tough road game where Indy went on the road last week and probably could have easily won the game. They had 16-15 with a minute to go, less than a minute, and they gave up a big play in the middle of the field. But their corners, like I haven't seen Sauce out there right now. He got hurt a couple weeks ago, but, their corners are corners that you can attack, and I expect them to do it.
You referenced Ricky Pearsall. What are his strengths and weaknesses, and what does he bring to the table for this offense when he's out there?
Well, they called plays for him, Joe. Third downs, they called plays for him. They ran him across in motion. They ISO'd him out there in the flat, against a young corner, and he won easily. He separates at the top of his routes very well. You saw on 3rd and 13, a 14-yard comeback, where it's a perfectly run route. You need a little time to do it. But, he comes back to the ball. He doesn't wait on it. He catches the ball away from his body with his hands, which is important in traffic. He caught a ball on 3rd down off his knees, when he slipped coming out on this little curl route coming back to the ball. He caught everything they threw to him. We give these titles, number 1 receiver, whatever. Like, they're going to – I don't know if that's even the case in San Francisco anymore. I mean, there's no Jerry Rice here, so like that's kind of silly. But they have matchups that they're looking for, and they got it matched up on a couple young corners, and he won all the matchups.
Yeah.
And so that's what you could do with him right now. Like, he's a legitimate weapon. Jennings, in fact, I thought Kyle did a great job of attacking the 2-man side, which is man-to-man side, and they had the route combination, whether it's. And so you get Juwan Jennings and you get Pearsall attacking the 2-man side in a variety of combinations. And I thought between the two of them, between Juwan Jennings' size and how he plays the game, just basically low post basketball, and then Pearsall's route running and ability to separate, like those are good options if that's the first look for Brock.
Yeah, I think the big question is, like, can he hold up, right, for Pearsall? And time will tell, right? Time's going to tell. Yeah. You referenced Jerry Rice. George Kittle is 9 catches away from being the number 2 all-time pass catcher in terms of receptions in 49er history. He would surpass T.O. I think this is important because it's shocking. You look at how your face is. My face was that way too.
No, I would never have guessed that.
Me
Joe,
neither.
Honestly.
And I think what makes it more impressive is that they're not a pass first team, and he doesn't. I walk away feeling like he doesn't get featured enough, George Kittle, and yet you look up and he's super prolific. Baldy, I guess take it away from there. George Kittle, all-time 49er, he's going to pass T.O. in the next week or two in terms of catches. It's quite stunning.
Well, just think about. I mean, he's a 5th-round pick out of Iowa, right? He went to Iowa, 220-pound kid. Had to live in a weight room in order to just get on the field to block because you don't play in Iowa unless you block. Nobody catches a lot of passes at Iowa. Comes in sort of a no-name guy, and he makes a name immediately as a blocker. and maybe the best blocking tight end. Like, okay, he's number 2 in receptions in 49er, folklore, but he's probably the best blocking tight end they've ever had. Like, and maybe the best blocking tight end we've seen since Gronk. And so it's an amazing run. I remember, you probably remember this too, Joe. I remember doing a film session with George at a Super Bowl one year, and it was the year that I think he led the league in yards after the catch or reception yards. It was at the top of one of those two categories, and I think Kyle was really adamant in getting him the record and breaking it. Like, and I just remember the soundbite of Kyle. Like, I don't do this for everybody, George, but it was, for you, like, we're going to get you this record. I'm a little fuzzy on that.
It was 2018. Huh? It was 2018, end of the year. I believe it was memory serves, it was against the Rams, and he broke the tight end yardage record in a season.
Yes, that was it. And so maybe me and George did that thing like in January 2019, something like that. But I just remember hearing the soundbite, and like Kyle was happy for him. And this, like, think about it now, that's like 7 years ago, right? And here he is. He's gotten through the injuries, okay? Like, the body's holding up. And he brings such a presence to the team, the city, the game, the field, wherever it is, playoff game, regular season game. Like, he's a special, special person. He's a special player.
Baldy, how is this defense going to stop Jonathan Taylor this next Monday?
Well, they couldn't stop Tony Pollard. So that's probably, here's what you got to do, Joe. You got to stop the J train before he gets going. You let him out of the depot. Like, it doesn't matter where he's at on the field. He can finish the run from 80, from 50, just as easy as he can finish it from the 5. Like, you can't let him get started. Now, the one thing I'll say is they're not a talented defense, and they do have issues across the board. Curtis Robinson's a nice player. Like, he's off the practice squad. But that's where they're at. But I will say this. They play as hard as any team in this league. They get 9 hats to the football every play. Like, they play hard. And if you want to limit Jonathan Taylor, you have to play the game that way.
Baldy, they have 16 sacks.
Oh, my God.
16 sacks right now as a team. 28 is the all-time lowest for a 49er team in a single season. Is that what they are as a pass-rushing team? Or does the film tell you they're better or worse than that number? Because that's an alarming number.
No, that's where they're at. But here's the dilemma that Robert Saleh has, is if we bring pressure and we overload, all the different ways, zone pressures, whatever it is, can we hold up in the back end? And I don't know that they can. And so they'll rush 4 and they'll try to play as good as they can. Mustafa has the ball in his hands, should be an interception, can't take the ball. They don't take the ball away and they don't sack the quarterback. And so, they have to make teams bleed, and beat themselves. And when you get to the postseason, the Rams and some of these offenses, they don't do that. So that's the challenge, is ball control. Like, they had 8 possessions the other day. 8, right? They had long drives. You play 8 possession games and be really, really efficient in those 8 possessions and just keep your defense off the field as much as they can, Joe. There's a formula. They executed that formula the other day. But even with that, with 5.5 minutes to go in the game, it's 34-24. Like, it's still a ball game. If you turn the ball over, you do something silly with it. So there is a formula, but what you're seeing from this defense, they're not a takeaway team. They're not a sack team. They're not a pressure team. And they're limited by what they can do on third downs trying to affect the quarterback.
If in this miracle world, somehow Fred Warner could play in, let's just say hypothetically, the wild card game, what does that do?
Well, I mean, Fred is an elite player. I don't know what level of elite he will be coming back from this major injury. But I don't believe they'll put him on the field unless Fred is at least 90% and looking like Fred, where the hair's on fire, but he's a great blitzer. He gets his hands on the ball and he knocks the ball loose. Like, he's a complete player. So you've got then if you had Fred with Bryce Huff, okay, a little splash in some Keon White, the biggest play of the season was Alfred Collins on a goal line against Kyron Williams, which helped win that game for him. Then you go, okay, now we've got our spiritual leader back. We've got our playmaker back. We've got our number one defender back. Like, they become a better defense and a better team if Fred can get back on the field.
Yeah, and there's no doubt about it. Christian's season is a special one. I mean, 1,700 yards from scrimmage, 900 rushing, 800 receiving. It's been a weird running year, though, where I feel like he's only broken like one, big run really all year. What are his characteristics now as a runner of the football? Like, what is he when you watch him on film today?
He's everything that he was in 2023. He's just not, after 15 weeks, you get the feeling we're not going to see a 40-yard dash. We're not going to see something break like that. It's just, if it hasn't happened yet with over 300 touches, it's probably not going to happen. But I will say this. I don't know how he's doing it because he still looks as fresh as can be. Now, they gave Brian Robinson a few more carries the other day. He had 9. I think, Brock, probably had 7 or so. But, he got 23. He's got 23 carries, which is as much as any running back, basically. But, like, 15 weeks in, like, he still looks fresh. He's just not getting the big runs and the explosive plays like we have seen him do. Not to say he can't do it, but 15 weeks, that's pretty good sample size that you're probably not going to get that. But you're going to get, he's down the goal line, he needs a touchdown run. He's going to run right behind Dominic Pooney on a power play. Like, he's not going to miss. So he is the most important player in this offense. Outside of Brock Purdy, he's the most important player.
No doubt.
And how they use him.
Excuse me, Baldy. Brian Baldinger joined us here on the River Islands guest line, Odyssey NFL Inside. I wanted to play the sound for you. Got a couple more minutes to go here because Kyle Shanahan talked about Phillip Rivers, and this is the story of football right now. 44-year-old grandpa, dad, Phillip Rivers coming back and almost pulling off the upset in Seattle. Hell, he gave him the lead with less than a minute to go. Can't ask for more from the old guy. No. But this is what Shanahan had to say about his admiration for Phillip on his media conference call yesterday.
The way he plays and the style he plays with, I respect him as much as any quarterback I've ever studied. Just growing up in this over the last 20 years or whatever. To me, what I admire the most is someone at that age to be able to come in there and want to play the right way, which is hanging in that pocket and taking some of those hits. And that's something that gets very old fast to a lot of people. For him to still have that toughness and that competitiveness and he's not going to get into anything unless all about it and 100% it.
When he said play the right way, Baldy, what do you think he meant by that?
Well, what he said right after that, he plays from the pocket. He doesn't bail. He doesn't flinch. He takes the hits, and he delivers the football. And he did it time and time again the other day. Like, his feet are in the ground, and he's winning with his eyes and his experience. There's an old saying that the problem with experience is by the time you get enough of it, you're too old to enjoy it. Well, Phillip throws a back shoulder ball to Alec Pierce, for 16 yards and gets him in position to go kick what they thought was probably the game-winning field goal. He threw a touchdown pass to Josh Downs. I bet he didn't throw 15 passes to Josh before that. But he knows what a shallow cross looks like. There's not a defense he hasn't seen. There's not a look he hasn't seen. And for his body to hold up like it did, and like it did over the 17 years, and like it did on Sunday, there's only a handful of guys. Eli, there's Peyton. There's only a handful of guys that have held up over that duration playing that style.
Baldy, when I hear Kyle talk about Phillip, I find it actually contradictory because guys like him with their offenses have all the built-in answers, all the motions and everything. And in a weird way, it's taken a lot off the quarterback's plate. But it feels like the prevalence of Shanahan-like offenses going all the way through college has stunted the development of young quarterbacks, if you get where I'm going with this, or no? You don't agree with me at all?
No, I'm trying to figure out.
So what I'm
you're
saying
trying to
is that I find it bizarre that someone like Phillip Rivers can sit out for 5 years and jump all these other young players. And it makes sense. Like you said, he's seen it all. He's done it all. It just doesn't feel like we're doing a good enough job in college and in the professional ranks of developing the quarterbacks. And maybe it's the impossible task. I don't know. Like I find it an odd juxtaposition, Shanahan discussing Phillip when he doesn't want his quarterback doing a lot of checks at the line of scrimmage.
Well, he hasn't, he's had a lot of young guys that he's had to, at some point you trust your quarterback to do all of that, but that's over a period of time. But, the bigger point to what you're making here, Joe, is we do a terrible job of developing quarterbacks, a horrible job. The safety valves go run, go make something happen. That's not quarterback. That's not quarterbacking. Look to the sideline and we'll tell you the play. Like, that's not quarterbacking. Like, it is. We've given them a crutch, and we don't allow them to develop. We don't know how to develop them. That's why we're so awful at drafting them. Because, but then if you get the guys that do know how to coach a quarterback and an offense like, Sean Payton, what he's doing with Bo Nix, like, it's remarkable to see what Ben Johnson's doing with Caleb and the growth that he's taking this year. To break a lot of bad habits that Caleb had and those kind of things. But you have to coach him hard. I'll never forget this, talking to Jimmy Garoppolo one day. And I probably shared this on the show. But I was like, so I see him on the sideline before a game. And, he's Jimmy. He looks like a male model out there in a football uniform. And I said, Jimmy, do you ever have a bad day? He goes, come to practice on a Wednesday, and I'll show you what a bad day looks like. When Kyle's like down my throat on every decision, he goes, it ain't easy during the week with that guy. And look, Matt Ryan said the same thing when he was in Atlanta with him. It's not easy, but you want to be a good player over a long period of time. You want to win MVPs and go to Super Bowls. This is what it's going to take. His dad was the same way.
So, Baldy, is this more, because I see offensive line play in the league is terrible. Practices, you're not allowed to do as many. I don't feel like players are coming into the NFL ready to be a pass blocker, a run blocker that really understand this. Is the quarterback development issue more at the college level coming in or more at the professional level once you draft someone, or how you identify them?
Well, I think it starts at the high school and the college level, and what they're doing and how they just sort of coddle these kids, and you get beat out now you just transfer to another school and you go someplace else, you can play. Just look at the guy. I mean, if you look at it, just say Phillip Rivers. He played 4 years at North Carolina State. I don't know if he played 45 or 48 games, but he played a lot of games, in one program at one school and in one conference, and he got a chance to really play. And then, he was drafted by the Chargers or drafted by I guess the Giants, and then traded, but Drew Brees was there. He's got to wait his turn, behind a Hall of Fame quarterback. We didn't know that Drew was going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, and so the process is just so different now than what it was. And so we may never get really, maybe Arch down in Texas will get this because he's going to come back for his third year next year. And maybe he'll get some of this and he's allowed to kind of grow, and everybody, throwing darts at him saying he doesn't know how to play, and all we've seen is growth from him. So, you got to learn how to play. You got to play in different weather. You got to play in different fields. You got to play in different crowds. You need to experience all that kind of stuff. Just all these things affect the growth of the quarterback.
One more for you, Baldy, and we appreciate your time this morning, and you're so right. That's why I love when Brady or Aikman's on the broadcast, because they're not afraid to say what's wrong with either the development, not checking at the line.
Yeah, it really wasn't too shy last night about saying, do they have a 2-minute?
Exactly.
They don't have a 2-minute offense?
Exactly.
What is this? We're all saying the same thing at the TV, but I'm glad Troy said it, though, because he needed to say it.
So we were having the conversation earlier. It was what we opened the show with. I'm of the belief, Baldy, that in order for this Niners team to go on a legitimate playoff run, because their offense or because their defense is so bad, I do think the 1 seed would be crucial for them. Just having that home field advantage, going through a lot of unproven guys, a lot of young players on defense, I think it would be massive. Shasky was like, I don't think so. I think, they could sneak in, go on the road, go on a little bit of a run here. We've seen it in the past. What do you think? Do you think they need the number 1 seed to go on a little bit of a deep run here?
Well, I mean, if you're not thinking like that, then you're not thinking properly. I mean, you have to think about the number 1 seed is available. Like, you have to think like that right now. It makes a difference. I remember I'm in Philly here. Howie Roseman, like, he went after the number 1 seed in a couple playoff runs because, getting the home playoff game, getting the rest, only having to win 2 games to get to a Super Bowl, that's a big, big deal. And you just think if you get the bye week, maybe Fred is really healthy, for that, whoever comes to San Francisco and Levi to play. And, then you start thinking, okay, get the number 1 seed, get a home playoff game. Then you're thinking maybe this is the year that we host the Super Bowl at Levi State. I mean, I think you got to stretch and think big. And, like anything can happen in some of these games where you're limiting the number of possessions. And you got a guy, Pinheiro. I just looked at it. I didn't know. 22 for 22.
He hasn't missed.
The kid ain't missing.
No.
Like, that's going to be really important in the postseason.
Baldy, you're the best, buddy. We'll talk to you soon, all right?
Can't wait to react to Old Man Rivers playing against the 49ers on Monday night. Thanks, man.
I think he's going to be better than he was last week. He just threw it to the backs, and check downs, but he missed a go route to Josh Downs on a double move, and he got behind the defense. I'll bet if he gets that this week, he's not going to miss.
There we go. Hey, Baldy, great stuff, man. We'll do it again next week.
Okay, guys.